how many superheroes do you know have disabilities? And I'm not talking about the stereotypical quip superhero. I'm talking about Spider-Man. I'm talking about Superman. And, they're all men, so that's a problem too. But I've never seen a person with a disability in a superhero movie, and I'm just starting to get sad about it now.
One disability narrative that I see is the trope of the miraculous cure for disabled people. Oftentimes when disabled people are part of the storyline, the only time that really happens tends to be when their storyline either ends with them being cured in some manner, or ending with them either like passing, or having some sad final ending that doesn't really depict anything positive about disability.
The only thing they are is disabled, and it's so focused on that, and it's so focused on being disabled is bad, or being disabled needs to be fixed, rather than like the person being a whole thought out character and also is disabled.
The way we see the final product on the screen is the result of somebody creating that image of a person with a disability. So the change needs to happen at the creative level. And if the person is not aware of what disability is, what is living with disability, how varied our lives are, how diverse we are, how rich our lives can be, how much fun we can have, regardless of our disabilities, they will pigeonhole a person with a disability either as the deviant criminal killing everybody, or the super giggly person always, making the bloopers and being the comic relief.
We haven't really left those ideas behind. We haven't really moved on past that. Because if you're a character with a disability, then you're the character with a disability. And, just to ask another question, I've never seen a TV show with all of us here together in one room. And if there was such a TV show, we would probably be crying and we would probably be dead by the end of the movie.
I'm going back to who makes the casting call. So their ideal of what will work is what's leaving us not only outside of what we see in movies and what we see on the media, but also if they don't show us in commercials buying coffee or buying cell phones, which we all do, then when I go to have coffee, there's going to be a barrier.
What I've often heard from people in like the biz, if you will, is like there just aren't disabled people acting, so we have to get Drake to play the boy in the wheelchair. And I think like that stems from actually a bigger problem of that, like generally like accessibility to theater training and the arts just isn't largely accessible. So I think what happens, and I can speak from a comedy perspective, is lots of people, I do know people who started out in stand-up comedy with like a visible difference, and then like the scene is largely like not all that accessible. Mm-hmm. So I think what happens is people start and then like they get excited and then they're like, oh, like I can only get in like maybe like 10% of the rooms. This is really hard. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I'll go do something else.
We are all affected in some way by disability, either our family member or our coworker, but for some reason in the media, it just doesn't exist.
Racialized disabled folks are often pushed out of conversations, often criticized for being divisive, and for not putting disability first over their race. A lot of, even within like the disabled community, a lot of white disabled activists have pushed against racialized disabled people, bringing up how race actually affects those things. And when we look at pop culture, even though we have things like special and we're getting more of these narratives, they still often follow cis and white disabled people. For me, I have yet to actually see a character that represents my experience, because I might get the disabled experience one place, the queer experience another place, but I have to go and get the racialized experience somewhere else.
One of the things that I've noticed with social media is it's also been easier to find folks who are interested in doing things differently and creating different media. So I've had some success with finding like body painting collectives that are interested in using different models, or photographers who are interested in using different models, folks who are doing drawing classes who are looking for more diverse bodies as opposed to the standard bodies that one would imagine. I'm not sure how we would have done it without those sort of worldwide platforms.
The only way to get that experience is to create the opportunities yourselves. And so with YouTube and streaming services, it allows us more opportunities to actually go and do it. And especially with things like phones having high quality cameras in them, making it more accessible to create that content from your own home.
Because there seems to be more of a commodification of difference. And I think in some ways that is exciting. So we're seeing diversity in advertising. So I'm thinking about the Dove campaign. So it's great that we're using different bodies and we're talking about different bodies with the Dove campaign. But at the end of the day, we're still selling lotion because everyone has to have like soft, supple skin. So the diversity of representation to some extent is really exciting for me. But then I'm sure there's more analysis that needs to be done around like why it is everyone would need soft skin, and thinking about are we creating authentic representation? Or are we just letting more folks into like the pit of insecurity?
But I think another thing that is happening is like making sure that the scripts in these films or in these TV shows are actually having these kind of conversations that we're having right now. So I was just watching Orange is the New Black this week, and they actually used the word ableist in their conversation, and I was like, oh, they're talking about like kind of a not great thing, but at least they're acknowledging it. At least they're talking about it in a way that is like more nuanced and more complex.
Oftentimes I will see calls for women between the ages of 35 or 30 and 35, and like even though like I identify as that type of woman, like I will know that like that's not what I am. Like I can only go to calls that are like for visibly disabled people. And one of the other things I find really interesting is they're often only for financial institutions, which is like fantastic, yay, financial institutions. But like it always kind of bothers me because like disabled people do other things. Like I like Cheerios. Like I drink coffee. I like Cheerios. Like why can't we be another thing? Why am I only going to the bank?
And so the more people with disabilities in any aspect of the production would go a long way. And so that means, to some extent, we need to think about how to make these positions accessible. Even how to get a deaf person to help with sound editing. Or how to get a person in a wheelchair to do filmmaking where the camera is moving. I think those are very interesting challenges that are not necessarily impossible, but they're just different.
Because when you think about writers and producers, they're not entry-level positions. Disabled people can't just show up and be a writer. They often have to, everyone is expected to go through the same process where you start off as an assistant or on sound, on camera or something behind the scenes. And those positions are often, with 12-hour days, with inaccessible equipment. And oftentimes the people just don't want to even think about ways they could make those things a little bit more accessible. It's often just kind of pushed off to the side and relegated as, well, that's not work disabled people can do, so let's just not even worry about it. And we talk about, oh, actors, writers, directors, we need more of these people. How are they supposed to get in the door? How are they supposed to get the experience and the knowledge to do those positions if they aren't allowed a foot in the door?
We all live long enough, we're all going to have the opportunity to be disabled. And when we think about disability, often the understanding is like a very like permanent, very static experience, but really people are going to move in and out of experiences of disability based on the environment that they're in and the way their bodies work.